All right. I remember to put the intro here, so I'm not staring at you like a deer in the headlights, unknown about to start. So hello, everybody. It's been a little bit since I've been doing this. It's me and the three amigos over here. I got Sharif, Cody, and then Joe to the right. We're going to be talking Dolphins offense. Whatever you guys want to bring up tonight. But I got some good stuff. Scott, who had been here a couple of weeks ago, he's been doing a lot of the statistics. He gave me a little rabbit hole to travel down, and I got some really good stuff. I'm kind of doing some of it in a podcast tomorrow, but I got some really good stuff. And then the guys, they got their things, but it's basically offense. So everybody give yourself a little introduction. We'll start with Joe to the right and work our way to the monkey on the left.
All right, I'm Hooked Up Joe. I'm a regular streamer on various networks. I don't stream my own channel, but I show up at all these at just about everywhere in the streaming network for the Dolphins.
He's got a big dating life with the YouTube community, man. Cody, what's going on there, brother?
Hey, how we doing, Curtis? Yeah, my name's Cody. My handle is Mr. Success. The skills I'm bringing is I just am addicted to talking about the Dolphins, and I'm obsessed with them, and the only prescription is more Dolphin talk. So I'm just pumped to be on and talk to other people that know what's going on with our team and just share perspectives. So I appreciate being on always. So thank you.
You guys come on and jazz up my joint here every once in a while, which is nice. All right, so Sharif, man, you there, brother? Give us a heads up.
I'm Sharif. I'm from the Bahamas. It's been a wonderful ride. I started off, of course, in the COVID when, TD was letting everyone on, and, we had nowhere to go, and we were just inside just discussing Dolphin football. And I thought that was a beautiful thing, and I think it has brought out more beautiful things like this gentleman right here, Curtis. He knows this thing. He talks trenches. He understands the game, and that's what. And he's a Dolphin fan that understands the game. So we are we have our pens and notepad.
Awesome. Hold on a second. Somebody's crunching on something in the background. Hold on a second. Let me hide something. I'll do this little thing in a second. Oh, would I hide something? Hide one of you guys? Who did I hide?
Joe.
Oh, hey. Joe. Hey, back, Joe. Who do I? Oh, man. All right, there we go. There we go. Hide on screen. All right, here we go. All right, guys. I'm going to kick off a little bit of my stuff to kind of like what I've been seeing in my studies. And, if you guys all know, Sharif mentioned I talk offensive line. Some people say I talk it all the time. And, I still think that the offensive line makes the NFL world go around. And I definitely think this offensive line is not hard to track. But like the title of the thing says, can the Miami Dolphins' vast array of skills change the concepts of how business is done in the NFL? And the more I've been digging, the more interesting it gets. I still think in certain situations against certain teams, it's going to be sticky. Not saying we can't do it, but I think there's going to be a heavy volume of potency, even more so than we saw last year. Like last year, we saw a big point scored against the lesser teams. But I think we're going to see some of the same stuff against more the average and even above average teams from what I'm seeing if we can stay healthy a little bit. So I want to show one thing that I think is a very big piece of the puzzle that people aren't talking about. Somebody's banging in the background. Who's banging? Banging.
I'm on mute.
Uh-oh, Sharif. Sharif, you're my doctor over there, man. Stop your banging. So I'm gonna do this.
I'm on mute.
Is it me? It can't be me. No, it's not me. I don't know. Anyway, maybe it's my stomach. So Jonnu Smith, I think, is a big piece of the puzzle. And I think that one of the things we saw last year was a lack of physicality. And we saw small receivers getting punished, especially on our pocket posts, on our edge runs, the jet sweeps and stuff. And this guy is going to bring a different piece of the table. I'm going to show some other stuff, but I want to show you this Titans play last year on Waddle. And you're going to see this defense knew what they were doing. They were lining up to put the wood on whoever was doing that pocket post. You'll see it right here. Let's run it. And you'll see they drop 3, and the middle guy breaks off and just puts the wood on Waddle. They knew it's coming. They knew the tendency, and they just said, okay, Hill's going to go deep. We'll let the 2 trace deep. We'll look like we're dropping 3, and then I'm going to come back 35. I can't remember who that was. And look at his hit. That put Waddle down, I think, for a while. I'm not sure about the whole game. I can't remember now. But did I put somebody out again? Who did I put out again? Sharif, there you go. But that's a big piece of the puzzle. You're not going to – what you saw there with 35 is not going to happen with 250-pound Jonnu. And that threat alone, when you call a play like that, you understand what the situation is. You understand you could see by the formation, the tendencies, they're going to run that pocket post, and you're peeling off to hit that guy. But now if you put Jonnu in there, that's going to change the whole idea of the situation. And so for me, Jonnu, and I'm going to get into the leverage that all these guys create, but the physicality, for him to do those jet sweeps, and he can do them, for him to do it, there's going to be a lot of little stuff we can put in there, but be able to work the middle of the field. And if you look at what he was successful at, the edges of the field, we really struggled on the exterior. We're great between the numbers, and we weren't really so hot on the outside. Jonnu Smith, I think, is going to be – because then you can actually bring in Smythe and let him be what he wants to be, is that second tight end. And there's going to be a lot of formation looks that are going to be able to change that we weren't able to do. So that's my kickoff. I got some more stuff that I'll break out, guys. What do you think about that? And then go into what you want to talk about a little bit, and then I'll dig into my stuff.
So do you think our offensive line is going to be able to allow us to utilize all those other players? Like, we're always talking about you have to compensate and use other players in your blocking game, and they're not available otherwise.
Well, funny you mentioned that, because to me, the thing is, if you go check back, I was like one of the first guys to really mention the game-changing leverage that Hill and Waddle were going to create. And leverage is like a concept that I'm not sure everybody really cements themselves in. It's very hard to, because it's not a concrete thing. But the leverage that we got with Hill and Waddle is going to be magnified with OBJ, HN now going out routes, and Jonnu. I got a diagram to show you the leverage. And it's not concrete, but it shows, if you look at the separation, the cushion that's given to the receivers that we have, you're going to see some very interesting stuff. Now, I think, again, we could take these poor teams, the average teams last year, and take them to the woodshed. But as we got to that next level, it was, hey, Hooked Up Joe, you're here already. What's going on, Joe? Let's put this up here. But once you got to like above average teams and the better teams, a lot of the leverage got mitigated. But I'm going to show a graphic after this to show you how interesting the leverage we're creating. And I think we can. I still think when you get to bad weather on the road and against really good teams, it's going to be a question mark. But I think the question mark shrinks a little bit more than it did last year. And I think that's intriguing. And I'm not saying that because, I'm usually like the Grinch when it comes to the Dolphins. So
I don't think you're the Grinch.
Well, I'm trying not to be. So, Sharif, what do you think about? Do you think that we're going to be able to create the leverage needed?
Well, it's interesting because when I look at the X and the Y, of course, I'm talking about I formation, one fullback. When I look at the successful plays that the Dolphins do in terms of play action and running, 64% of the plays you get positive yardage, right? That's just from Spotrac. But when you track what the X and Y are doing, that's Tyreek and Waddle most of the time. Like the only time Cedric comes on the field is, I think it was 45% of third down. So that means that most of the time it was Braxton. So what that tells me is if we can first and second down, it's an X and Y. Now, when we talk about being more physical, we're definitely not going to put two physical receivers there in first and second down just for the running game blocking for wide receivers. So what does that tell me? We're going to have to get the force multipliers, what I look at it as, meaning safeties, linebackers, weak side and strong side, they're going to commit certain ways. And then when Tyreek makes that quick motion or that jet motion, it's going to be 6 defenders going this way. And when Tua hands it off, A-Chain, Mostert, it's going to be a cutback to where 4 defenders is now going to have to tackle Mostert. And if Mostert can break and tackle, this is when we see the 10-yard gain. And of course, I'm talking about it over audio, but it's very beautiful when you watch it on all 22.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll put a little image I got here. Hold on a second. A little graphic that I put a lot of time in. All right, so yeah, I'll break this down. So if you check the cushion that was given to the receivers, hey James Gray, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. Thanks for giving a shout out. Rampage, man. That's right. My kids love this, man. My youngest son makes me watch it every 6 weeks. We just watch it again. He loves that movie, The Rock or whatever. It's actually a pretty good movie. So if you go and check to see the cushions, you can go to Next Gen Stats. It's not a perfect thing because the cushion's created by the quarterback. The cushion's created by the surrounding talents. And I'll kind of break it down a little bit. But you look at Waddle, he was given 6.7 yards of cushion, okay? So he's going to play the X for the most part. And he played, I think, Waddle was 74% wide, 24% slot. And you sort of won the video I showed at the beginning where he played slot and he got slammed. But he's going to play that exterior. And he was getting 6.7 yards of cushion. So that you're going to see a cornerback playing off. I'm not saying he's always going to play that. But when you add in Hill at the F or the slot, which is last year he played 60% wide and 37.5 slot. I expect that to go up dramatically because OBJ was 87% wide. So I see OBJ as the Z. I see Waddle as the X. It's going to flip and switch, but I'm saying as a prime driver. And Hill as the F. And then when you get the Y with Jonnu, who can play either inline or he can play wide. And if you look at him last year, he had 30% inline. His pass plays came from inline, but he played 52% slot. And that's a big deal, man. And he played 13.7% wide. And he had London that was given 6.3 yards per cushion, Pitt 6.3. So he didn't have he was the number one guy the defense backed off. Hey, Wienegate, what's going on, brother? Yeah, man. Thanks for coming by, brother. You're the best, man. You're a long timer. You're a long timer.
Nice.
So if you realize that last year with Atlanta, hey Brian, what's going on, brother? What's going on, Brian? He's my tech guy. He's always helped me with the tech stuff.
They're rolling in. Nice.
Yeah, I get a lot of help from my friends on this channel because they know I'm a dumb monkey in some ways.
No, don't say that, Curtis. Don't say that.
Hey, you got to quote the famous American philosopher, Dirty Harry. A man's got to know his limitations. I know my limitations. I'm pretty smart in other ways, but yeah, my wife will tell you I'm a dumb monkey.
Great movie.
Oh yeah, I love that. I got all of them, man. I got to watch them again. They're such good flicks. But if you think about that, Jonnu Smith was given 6.6 yards per cushion, London 6.3, and Pitt 6.3. They respected this guy.
You can get off the line for
I get by with a little help from my friends there, Brian, and my tech assistant. So just think about that. if you look at just the overt numbers, OBJ was only given 5.3 yards, but he had Zay at 7.7, Andrews 5.6, and Agnew at 6.4, which is pretty nice cushion they were giving everybody. But you got 5.8 for Hill cushion, which you see here. So you have 5.8, 6.7 by Waddle, 5.3 by OBJ, and 6.6. If you think about when these guys line up in 3 wides, you're immediately forcing, at the very least, I don't think anyone's playing cover 2. I think maybe you can have cover 2 shell with man underneath. But these guys are going to get driven off. And when they get driven off, it's all going to be edge drives where there's going to be pockets on the edge. And that's what we like to do with our running attack with Achane. So if you go across, you're going to have Waddle. He is a real deep threat. And that's really, he's got the outs, the ins, the deep post, the fly, and he's not going to get banged around like he used to. And then you're going to have Hill at the F. And just think about Hill at the F with Waddle on the flank. Jonnu, he's going to be passing by in that motion. And then you got OBJ on the other side. He has you see like the purple line, he's going to have a full route tree. And depending on what the complementary routes are, he could be left naked with guys playing over the top on him. Because who are you bringing? You're going to bring that DB, but he's going to be chasing. And then, of course, you always get the motion and comeback motion. And it's going to put that DB likely flat-footed or chasing. And so Hill really is where he thrives. Hey, just got they give yeah. I was surprised too, man. And that leverage, all that muck baby, not more than I think. Waddle was 6.7. But remember, I think
it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Hey, muck baby, what's going on? So it's a really complicated thing, but when you understand that, and I put it down here. If you're going to run a zone, it's got to be cover 3 at least. And when you run cover 3, you could get 3 flies out of this, and that is going to be very a lot of packages, a lot of stuff that can be created because the leverage is a force multiplier. And so you have a certain amount of capacity, and then you have the fulcrum and the stick, and it creates a force multiplier where it enhances what you got. And so when you have these guys on the field, it's going to by nature allow the offensive line to have more help because you're not going to be able – when you don't fear the deep play, you crunch up into the box. I can go over and show you how Titans, they ran a staggered drop zone. And when they get into that zone, they crunch it up. It becomes hard to identify exactly what's going on. But the more space you create because you're driving guys off with leverage, now it opens up stuff. And then you got things like Achane. You put Hill in the F on the move. You flood the right with Jonnu, OBJ, and you get the Hill. And then you got a fly by Waddle, and you got a Sam linebacker, nickel linebacker that's got to go one-on-one with Achane. And that's going to force – look, I got a whole mess of points I don't want to talk on too much. I want to kind of get it back to you guys. But you're going to be able to see Tua go through progressions this year because this leverage is going to create more time and space. And you're going to see, is McDaniel shifter? What's going on? Can McDaniel put together good route combinations? Because if he can't do it this year, then there's something serious. Australia, man. Crikey, mate. You must be needing some sleep there, brother.
Shout out to you, man.
Yeah, man.
Shout
thanks.
out to you, brother.
I always wanted to go to Australia.
My grandpa loves it. He used to go there when he was younger. He loved it.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm not saying this is going to be a panacea on what we got on the offensive line. Tehran being healthy, I think his effect is even bigger this year. If he gets knocked down, it's devastating. He's got to stay healthy. But you could see, look at Jonnu coming at an inline player who was getting 6.6 yards per cushion, getting passed by underneath by Hill with OBJ over the top. You can run the pocket post with Jonnu. You run a deep inside post of fly. And I don't really like flies with OBJ. I don't think he's really got it as much anymore. Oh, it's 10:20 in the morning. Oh, it's not bad. I thought I was giving you a big shout out, Shifter. But anyway, nice. All right, you're really all around the world. So if you got the pocket post with Jonnu, and then you got a deep post or comeback or fly by OBJ, that leaves this huge open space for Hill to operate. He can come behind OBJ with an out, a comeback. He could do a stop and grab. There's so many things. You could do a corner with Jonnu and then underneath by Hill, and now he's in the middle doing the post. There's so many things. But then on the opposite side, you got Waddle and you got Achane, and there's a lot of space created. So I think that the first down is going to be key. The problem is if we don't get successful first downs, then it gets a little bit more problematic. But obviously you can see we have the talent. But there's a lot of good stuff here. Tua should, and then you add his movement skills. I mean, when you look at what you got here, you've got a middle linebacker that's going to be left on Jonnu, and he's going to give him cushion. And so you're going to have a very lofty box with 4 down linemen and a linebacker, unless you have like maybe the Jets who are going to get up there in your face and stuff like that. But most teams, I mean, they don't have 2 cover linebackers and 2 to 3 cover defenders, DBs. And so this is going to put, in my opinion, huge problem. Now, if they can get that 4-man rush, if they can stop the run with 4, then we're back to where we're at. But still, this is a lot of cushion that's being created, a lot of leverage that's becoming. Hey, Happy Hippie, what's going on?
What's up, Hippie?
It sounds like you're really
What's going
low
on,
Lamb.
HH?
I thought he did at least a bearable job. It's not that I'm dour on him. It's that when you tie in the combination of what I'm going to show you something else, another graphic I made, and it's a comparison to Tom Brady. I'm doing it in a podcast tomorrow, so I'm not going to do it too much because I know I'll pay attention. But from 2020, when he won the Super Bowl, to when he left, you're going to see some very interesting things from scheme, philosophy, standpoint, and it's going to say something very clearly what we're doing here, but it has some interesting notes to it. And I'll bring that up in a second. But Lamb isn't a guy that's getting out fast. Teams aren't threatened by him, and they weren't threatened enough because we didn't have a tight end that could threaten and an offensive line that could block long enough. So when you add the tight end is a very dangerous tool. In the draft that just passed, it was the first time ever they tested the tight ends against corners. And so that's saying there's a philosophical shift in how things are playing out. And you've got to have guys that match up with these tight ends because they're problematic. And there's a lot of stuff more I could say about that, but we love the shot. Yeah, I got shots, man. I got shots and crazy shots. Honestly, what did I say? Tom used to flip out if he got. Oh yeah, totally. Tom, that's actually what I put in my. Dude, you read my scripts, man. You read my brain. That's what I said. Tom Brady went from like 110 QB rating to like 60 under pressure. And Tua does have struggle under pressure, but that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback because Brady was extremely disrupted by pressure. So when you see this, you're going to have to play too high to start off, and that's going to demand either semi-man or full man underneath or mixed match zones. And when you take certain schemes off, certain formations off, and certain concepts off the table, you start narrowing down what you're going to see, and it makes it easier. There's a lot of things that come through this. Again, it's not a panacea. If Tehran goes down, it's not pretty, and we still got to get those inside runs that I'm talking about against the better teams. But I think this clearly puts a lot of pressure on the average to above average teams, the teams that come into Miami. And so I really liked what I saw. There's a lot more I could say here, and I'm, with route combinations, but I'm going to get too deep. But I just wanted to show you that. So let you guys do your talking because I've been yammering.
What do you got, guys?
Well,
Sharif?
you want to go, Joe?
No, go ahead, Sharif. Right to left.
There you
Well,
go.
okay, so that's 21 personnel right there with the tight end and the slot receiver. I think what is interesting, and now what we're going to get into, Curtis and guys, is adjustments that McDaniel has to make and didn't make, right? So what McDaniel likes to do, instead of putting Jono in there, that's Engel. Now, when you look at the all 22 up to week 7, before Isaiah Wynn got hurt, we never went in a super protection package like that. Meaning on any down, we didn't need Engel or we didn't need Smite to actually stay back and protect. What does that mean? In a 20 in a 21 when a 21 personnel with a fullback, now Smythe is able to strike out after the first punch block, and Tua is able to see him. Then Engel can become a fullback option like Rob Conrad, Keith Byers. We were unable to do this after week 7. Why? Because we now were in max protect with Engel, max protect with Smythe in the 21 personnel. So what Curtis is talking about is the 11 personnel on mostly third downs, right? Because if we come out in a shotgun, it's not necessarily going to be the personnel that is the shotgun, because that could be very well Engel as a slot receiver coming in. You understand what I'm saying? To come in with Mostert, and then all of a sudden it's a run. But what is important is that the offensive linemen stay healthy. And so we do not have to take the 21 personnel or the 11 personnel, and all of a sudden you're max protecting like you're doing it for Fiedler or something like that. When really you're doing it for Tua so he can get rid of the ball quickly, because you're using Cotton and you're using Robert Jones at this point, which we don't want to use.
No. Jones is not bad, but he's I don't know why they re-signed him. He's a little bit of a mismatch when he want to run the outside zone and pass protection. He does some nice stuff. He's very physical. I just think he's more of like an inside zone, more pass balance.
We just don't want to have to. What we want to do is we want to be able to stay in 21 personnel and still be able to use Engel like Keith Jackson and Rob Conrad, an option out of everything. You can't, unfortunately, do that if an Armstead goes down, if a Connor Williams goes down, and someone else, So all of a sudden, your 21 personnel isn't for you to use every weapon. It's now for you to max protect for Tua. We need to stay out of that.
Well, the problem is, if you look last year, another thing too. I'll show you I'll show you a little bit after. But yeah, the thing is that we couldn't. We came out in say a 12 personnel, or we came out in 21, or we couldn't generate anything on the interior. And when you start bringing the bigger bodies in, that's why 11 personnel is really good for us this year. But when you bring the bigger bodies in, you're trying to go to the edges, it does weaken your capacity. The bigger bodies are meant to work, edges of C gap, B gap, and A gap, and we weren't able to really make too much hay there. If you got, say, a Janu or an Ingold, and you come out saying a 12 personnel, and you have the Hill and the Waddle on the edge, and you can threaten stuff, then maybe you can start working in the interior. My concern is that though that personnel group is going to be a little bit tough for us because it demands the blocking, and unless you can come in and create some creativity, which you can. We were talking about the motions in one direction and you come back the other direction. The crack seal plays a big part in what we like to do, and you can come out in those formations like that. But the problem is that we're not able to take advantage of that interior. I think from what I'm seeing is you got an offensive line that can't drive block. None of them. Duran can kind of do it. No one. Jones can kind of a little bit. But I think the whole idea is to really stress the edges, stress the top, and then really thin out that inside for, say, a Jalen Wright or a Mostert. And if you can get a little bit of action inside and you get the guys creeping up, then you can get maybe back into your 12 personnel and 21 personnel, and you can run some play action and get off there. I just don't know if we're going to be able to physical our way through it when we bring in big bodies, because we really struggled last year and we had Hunt and Connor. And like if you go back and you look, like last year we played the Titans and they didn't have Simmons, and I think it was only Jackson was in, and we couldn't run against the nickel. And then they brought in the 4-3 in that second to last drive, and we were dead in the water. So I don't know how physical we can be, and I don't know if we have to be. I think a little bit. I'm hoping a little bit. If we can, it would be, if we can create 4-point tension, that means tension on the line of scrimmage, tension on the deep, and tension on left and the edges, then I don't think we could be stopped. I'm just not certain how much we can do. Yeah, I miss Hunt. But it will be, Sharif, it will be, that's going to be, if we can do that, if somehow Eichenberg and Brewer, maybe Brewer can double and get to that second level and create those little holes inside for Ingle to follow through. And then you got, Jalen Wright or most. If we can do that, then that's like the go juice for serious stuff. I'm just not certain.
What is amazing about that personnel run is that Ingle, right? His job is to be a natural fullback, what I love passionately. And he was on the show the other day, and it was awesome to hear an interview with Ingle. And he gets past Connor Williams' ears, and then he gets through between Robert Hunt and Connor, and he's on that Mike linebacker every single time. And I'm telling you, our running backs are either cutting off the right hip of him or the left hip, and people just don't know that what it takes to get 9 yards on a carry.
It's huge.
It takes some dangerous trench run, man. And we have a shout out to Ingle.
Ingle is a stud, and he doesn't just get there. He's taking souls out there. Like, that guy is a monster, man. There are guys getting decleated because of him every single week. He's a stud, man. But I understand what you're saying about using him in the passing game. Like, that's a real big weapon that he can be for us. But when you have the issues offensively at the line, you do use him to block more than you want to use him as a weapon. So I love the additions. If you ask me what we needed to do, we needed to add that third option. We needed to add another running back, and we just threw resources at it. How about Jonnu? How about OBJ? How about we'll draft some Washington boys and see which one pans out, and let's grab Fortson, and boom, there's some dynamic third options for you. Let's figure it out, and I think Mike's going to. And I don't know how he's going to use him, but I was talking Jonnu Smith up. Brett Coleman. I don't know if anyone's in. Brett Coleman. I really respect the work he does, and he made a video just about Jonnu Smith and his efficiency and athleticism scores. Like, the guy's an athletic freak, and he said this guy can block in line too. I mean, he's not a mauler, but this guy can block in line.
No, he's big and he's willing.
Yeah, he's big and he's willing. And he's an athlete. But I think he's such an explosive athlete that we don't really know, like, how awesome this is going to be to finally. Smythe's been great, man. He's a great number 2. He can block, he can catch. He's right down the line, He's just Mr. Middleman there.
And he's clutch.
And he seems to make some big catches, yeah. And he's durable. So boom, that's a great number 2, man. Like, and Fortson, that guy's going to make the team, and he's going to make some splash plays. So. I love where we're going.
I'm not sure. I know people are excited about it. I'm not sure though yet. I'm not sure.
Our roster is so tough.
What about
Kana, man? Is he gonna make it?
No.
I don't know if
not.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know if you guys remember Troy Drayton, but I'm.
Oh yeah, of course.
That Julius Hill is able to bench press probably the most in the room from all 53 Dolphins.
He's a big dude.
Julius Hill has done that to hit. If he's just increased his strength to that Troy Drayton level, all of a sudden you got a guy like, but that's the threat on the running game. So,
Well,
that
the thing is, there's only the
Hill guy.
problem is
Now they're saying Jody Fortson.
who are they going to
They
keep
were saying
though?
Jody Fortson came in with the run game first, pass game second. Go ahead.
No, who
It's
do you
too
think
many
they're going to
tight
keep
ends.
though? You
Four
can
tight
only
ends.
keep so many
Yeah.
of these guys.
I got a theory though with all the tight ends.
Exactly.
Listening to that Danny Crossman interview about how the special teams is going to be totally different.
Yeah,
And he needs
It is.
athletes that are blockers, and your blockers
point.
need to be athletes. We don't know what if those are going to be such premium positions now. They're returning the ball now. That's a
Yep.
huge play
That's a
over
great
and
point,
over.
man. That's a great point.
So what if that's the kind of guys you need? Is you need some Julian Hills, you need some Fortsons, you need guys that can that's the new contributing on special teams. That's how you make the team type role. Maybe.
Yeah, special teams is the way to make the team, and special teams is
Oh, yeah.
changing.
Huge.
Now, you still have the punt. The punt is still the same. So you're still going to have the same need for those style of players on the punt, but
Yep.
the kickoff is a scrimmage play now. It just completely
Feeds the ball
changes the
now.
whole
Your runners
aspect
can be
of
fast.
what special teams is. I mean, Curtis might even start to respect special teams a little bit on the one play that's more like a scrimmage play.
Maybe I'm such a chauvinist. I'm a football chauvinist. Like special teams, the kicker. I don't know. Maybe I
I
might
do
have to.
on basically. Weiniger, I probably butchered his name. He was talking about, if you're talking about the layout that you were just discussing for the plays, how will this hold up in the cold? And the other associated question or segued question from that is, can a big part of our new weapons is how McDaniel's going to use those. And we talk about adjustments, being able to make adjustments in a game, but there's also making the adjustments through the season. Because what we saw last year was we took people by surprise with an offense they weren't expecting because they didn't see it. And we saw it almost like a regular curve all the way through the season as more and more people caught on to what we're doing and figured out how to stop different aspects of it in combination of other things that happen. You could see we needed a big change in our play. So are we going to be able to get our new players to create, not just do better, but to be able to allow McDaniel the flexibility to have a first half of the season, a second half of the season, and a playoff and a Super Bowl playbook that are different enough that the other team's not ready for you?
Continuity's big. Every year, continuity. That's how you build the playbook. Is the installs aren't as basic every year because you're bringing on new guys and you're getting them caught up. But you have a core. You have a rotating group of guys every year that really know what they're doing, and they're pros, and they keep going to the next level. But when you keep going from team to team, that gets broken up. Or when you're new, like Mike, he hasn't had the time really to establish himself as the lead dog, calling the plays, knowing how to use everybody, knowing how to make those adjustments. It was kind of clear in some of those games, like we didn't really change much, and the fourth quarter didn't work out for us. And really, by the end of the season, you kind of felt like, okay, we got two motions, they're disregarding them. Boom. There was three guys on just like that Tennessee play, that middle linebacker, number 2. He really didn't even play the run. He kind of played the slant, but he ran right there for that. So I don't know. They did figure us out, Joe. You're right. And you hope Mike really is the genius and he can make the adjustments,
I would like to make an amendment on that. Oh, keep going, Chief. Go, Chief.
That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying the adjustments, right? From week 7, Isaiah went down, and then Mostert never had a 100-yard game since. And then we're talking about, okay, by week 11, you have everybody dropping 3 linebackers back on third down. So that's now 7 in coverage, and 2 is not hitting the crosser. And we've seen this in the film. So now we're okay. If he's not hitting the crosser, that crosser is now Odell Beckham. Is he not going to see Odell Beckham? Where's the adjustment, McDaniel? In my heart, my opinion is, I think the adjustment is Tua. Tua is going to be able to go back to what he done when we went 9 out of 10 games with Flores. If he didn't see anything, he got what he could and slid. And I think it's going to come back down to, okay, I am Tua. I'm not worrying about the quarterbacks in the NFL around me. This is what I do, and if you don't like it, then stop me, right? Because it's what I was highly touted as coming out of college. My hip is 3 years healed. I'm healed with my hip now. I've done this against the Jets. I've done this against Arizona. I've done this in the national championship game. I've done this in big games. This is who I am. So I think the X factor is Tua actually, if he doesn't see anything, right? And then he
What's there?
cannot see the crosser because the O line are too big. I think it's up to Tua now to take it on his own and slide.
That's what Purdy does. Purdy is not an amazing athlete, but he really knows when to make that decision. Ryan Fitzpatrick knew when to make that decision. He led us in rushing one year. So Tua used to run around reckless, and he's at the stage in his career where he was so afraid to run last year. We know why. It was not Tua. It was a real conservative guy. We saw it. We knew it wasn't
And
the Bama
Cody,
Tua.
once again,
No.
they got the big fan base out here as Dolphin fans, and then they got the Tuanon. And I always tell the Tuanon fans, you would like to win for us out the pocket. That's all fine and well. But when you look at 13 first down rushing, he got that in 2021. That is his career high, 13 first downs rushing. If Tua can eclipse that or get near that, that is something that he already did. So to me, is he all he needs to do is realize that, look, there's gonna be times where you're not gonna be able to see the crosser because, like Curtis said, Tyreek and Waddle has already did the force multiplier. Now nobody's in the middle of the field, but Tua can't see him. So now Tua's gonna have to use his legs and run. That's what I believe.
Yeah, he needs to get paid so then he doesn't have to worry about what's going to happen if he runs. Just like he did last year. He worried about what's going to happen if I run, what's going to happen if I don't throw the ball quick. That's not his normal processing, and if he has that off his shoulders, which I think they're going to figure it out, then I think we see that guy who's like, yep. I always say, and I'm a homer, that he's a Samoan warrior. Like that dude's culture, the way he was brought up, like he was not brought up to pussyfoot anything. And he just because he's a soft dude and he's a real nice guy in public, he's really showing that he's not like so soft as the years go on. But he's a killer, man. And I think he is going to just play his game. That was a really good point. A good way to say it. But he's got to have that insurance, that money, whatever they figure out, so he can ball out. Like it's right there for us. And there's adjustments, but you guys, my whole thing is health. What if certain guys stayed healthy last year? Yeah, we weren't ready for any kind of a big run, whatever. We had to learn the lessons we had to learn. That's how you grow as a team, whatever. But what if certain guys stayed healthy? What if certain guys stay healthy this year? What if we get a little bit of luck there at key spots, offensive line? Like, what if that happens this year? Like, if on paper, if this roster stays healthy, we can compete. We can compete, in my opinion, if we stay healthy. There's a lot of holes, there is, but we got to figure out how to mask them and stay healthy at the right time at the end of the year and hope things fall your way just a little bit better than last year,
And that's why what's important is the whole machinery of the 21 personnel. If you're by week 7, we were first in the NFL in rushing, first in rushing yards per average, and we never added a third receiver to do that, right? That means we kept Angle in the game. X and Z was Waddle and Tyreek. So we were able to take advantage of the shift motion, the jet motion, get 70% of the defense to run with Tyreek. Meanwhile, we're cutting back, running the other way. And so with that type of force multiplier and with a healthy offensive line, then we're all of a sudden teams will have to respect Tyreek more, and they won't want to take away the run. This is where now you have gashes here for 9 yards, gashes here for, and so if those things will be taken away if the old line starts to get dinged up. That's the key. Week 7, Isaiah Wynn went down in the first half, and after that, we had problems. Then Connor Williams went down, and after that, it was,
Yeah, I'll play, I guess, a devil's advocate. I'm not. A lot of people are very high on Wynn, and like you would look at our rush numbers. We went against the Chargers, who were like a top 10 rusher. I think we had 75 yards. We couldn't really run the football, and then we struggled against the Patriots, except for that big run, that beautiful Hunt and Connor double and peel to the second level for 60. It would have been a Noah Ugly kind of rushing day. Then we blew it open against a couple of teams. We struggled against the Bills, except Achane had like 2 big runs in the fourth quarter against like the second stringers. So I'm not really that big. Wynn is a quality player. He's a smart player. He's a veteran. He's able to get leverage, and he's able to slow down the pass rush. But when you look at his job assignment, Tua always rolled away from him, and it was a slide protect and a roll out away from him. And he really wasn't a drive blocker when you saw him against a better team. So I'm not too – I mean, I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm not very high on – like to me, it wasn't really him getting pulled out. It was Connor, because we went against the Bills, and we had Eichenberg at center, and then Tehran went down quickly. And Connor was the big piece of that, because when you run a zone stretch, the center is the most critical piece, because he's going both ways and he's setting that first go block. And then obviously you need your slides on your tackles and everybody else. But that's why if you go back to Atlanta, they were the best zone stretch runners in a long time. And they had, what's his name? Mac. Yeah. And it's.
I wanted to talk about this, Curtis. Thank you. I wanted to know about Aaron Brewer and what his athleticism means. Like, how could Mike scheme something up with having a superior athlete at center? Because obviously that's what he wants, you know, and now he has one even more athletic than probably the most athletic center in the game. So what leverage wise, what can this guy do? Can he pull? Like, I'm just curious at how Mike might plan on using this guy.
Well, I showed some video on him, and the guy's got some good, strong points, and he's got some really strong weaknesses. And I don't want to get too deep into the woods unless you want me to. I like it.
I do.
So you got to figure, when you're on the offensive line, I've said before, it's like a superhero team. If you got 5 Spider-Mans, they're going to be funny and they're going to be fast, but you need your things and your Hulk, and you need your Human Torch to go fly. It's like, so when you're a center, the guards that you're next to create a almost like one player skill set. And so if you had Brewer inside, and then you had 2 stronger guards on the outside, that now he's not a guy that has to stick to that double. So when you run a zone stretch, you get the motion, say, going to the left, and that guard, he's there to get the ride, get the hand inside and ride, and then the center comes in and he pushes him along and puts him into the guard so he can continue to push him, and then that usually that center gets to the second level. But if that guard isn't strong enough, then he needs more help from Brewer. And if Brewer's not strong enough, he's got to give more help, and then he starts getting attached. What I like, it's why I kind of like, some people are saying that Jones could play a part, and he's a guy who will handle you physically. And I could see, I don't think they're going to, but I could see him playing right guard and Eichenberg not starting, but I don't see it, where he's kind of like a semblance of a Hunt, and you can get a guy like him sometimes in slide block, and you can get him manned out. There were a lot of big runs that Jones set up before he got injured. But Brewer is not strong. He is small. Dwight Stevenson was a little bit lighter. Munoz was a little bit like 70 pounds, around the same size. But these guys had phenomenal strength, phenomenal technique. It's very hard for him to have Eichenberg and Wynn, who are not powerful, with him in the middle. Now if you're getting the leverage I showed in the last video, and you're getting the drive on these corners and linebackers, and you're coming out in your 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers, and that tight end is John, who's getting 6.6 yards cushion, and you're getting the drive, and you create space, and then it allows Brewer to get to that second level without interference. Hey, the realtor, man, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. I'm back doing a live thing. Finally, I'm healthy again here. Then you can see this guy do his thing. He's great. He did some long motion pulls, backside, and I can see him doing that a lot, where you get Tua rolling out to the right, and then you get Brewer hitting and then pulling backside to keep the protection, or even pulling to the strong side where he's rolling out to. He can do those things. He's a physical guy. He wants to do last year's best insider was Eichenberg getting pushed back. Yeah, he wasn't good, man. But, it could be a year difference. I'm not going to say no.
Weight, right? He's got
what happened?
Eichenberg's got to be hitting the weights, man.
Yeah, so I like Brewer.
He got the red shirt 2 times in camp.
That's it, man. He's ready to go, man. Rock and roll.
I got a question for you.
If I may,
did I answer you, Cody? Did I make sense?
No, you did for sure.
My jumble,
for sure. Yeah,
the Curtis jumble.
I hear there's a path for him to do things, and
but the problem is that, before Cody, the problem is, remember, it's move and counter move. You want to do something, but then the other team punches you in the face. So, like, if you got Brewer and Wynn and Eichenberg, if you're a defender, what you do is line up a good DT or NT in that hole. And his job is simply to get into the guys and drive them back. Right. Or a Simmons.
Matabuke.
And so when say like a Brewer might lose and get driven back, or a Win and Eichen, now you're breaking everything down. You can, when you got that zone, the zone, outside zone, and you get the drive and ride and then the second chip and go, if you got a strong enough guy, you suck those 2 guys up and then they're getting pushed back. Now you got major problems. So it's going to come down to, Brewer really getting good leverage. It's going to come to Win or Eichenberg not getting beat early and not having to force Brewer to give too much. But again, if you do that, then you can get some play actions with Tua rolling out, and you get guys sucking into one side, and you can come back for other things. There's always move and counter move. Yeah. But, in certain situations with bad weather, if you need that run, he's a hindrance, because not so much just because of him, because the guy is next to him. Anyway, Cody, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
No, that was great, man. Thanks, Curtis. Appreciate it. Like, I just know there's a path, and there's a path that it doesn't work, and especially in those physical games if we're not a big offensive line. So it's scary, man. You see greatness ahead of us, but then you also see red flag.
It's almost for everybody. We really do have possibilities, but we are a finesse speed team. And so, it can look beautiful, like with Bruce Lee and, Mayfield. But when you get put into that corner, if you're stuck there against the bruiser, it can get ugly.
When you start getting body slammed.
Yeah, so
I do have a question
I'm sorry.
For you.
Oh, Joey, what's going on?
For you and the panel. How much of the play calling, when we talk about being able to switch up your playbook and adjust and change your playbook up, how much of that is you have to tailor your offense to the offensive line that you have for, like when your offensive line changes, that's obviously changes how big of your playbook that you can open up. So that's the other
menus created by the offensive line for the most part. If you have an exceptional set of skills and quarterback like we have, it offsets that a little bit, but the menu, and I'm going to show you, I got my little graphic. I'm going to show you that what the offensive line does creates the menu. Now, again, we do have this vast array of skills. And we have a guy who could throw super fast, and that puts a special fear and concern in the defense, and it creates that leverage, which lessens the burden, but the burden always comes back to the offensive line. So I would say, and I can prove that to you in a way, but the menu gets diminished when you can't block, when you got to put more blockers in, because less guys in routes means less options. And that starts with the blockers. When you get 5 guys who can block, 4 guys and shut them down, that's all kind of problems for the defense. And it's all kind of beautiful stuff and lovely things for the offensive coordinator. But conversely, then it starts becoming a problem. Make sense?
And that's the interesting thing, Joe. What is interesting is, you know, I've seen Tua play with from pro set, meaning from under center. He had Calhoun, he had Jesse Davis, he had Eric Carros at center, hey Curtis. And so that was a terrible line.
Oh, it's the 45th best offensive line in football.
Now, and so when I talk about philosophies of offensive linemen, we're asking ourselves, what does our offensive line coach want Tua's offensive line to do? Because we know that Baltimore offensive line wants the offensive line to peel back so that Lamar can reset the offensive line and maybe reset and buy time. But we know that our structure is different. McDaniel and I forgot our O-line coach's name.
Butch Barry,
he wants them to structure and expand to a certain extent. He wants to run and Austin Jackson to expand to a certain extent, them knowing that the ball is going to be gone at a certain point. Are they going to peel back to allow? Right. So are they going to allow to peel back? Meaning after 2.5 seconds of the play, are they going to peel back like what wide receivers do? Come back to their quarterbacks? Are they going to pinch what cornerbacks do after 2 seconds? Pinch up on the wide receivers? There's certain things that an offensive line does when they know they have a mobile quarterback. Meaning, okay, I haven't seen the ball go anywhere yet. Let me crunch this guy down so Tua can see a gap, get 7 yards, and slide. It's a philosophy thing with Butch Barry. What is McDaniel asking Butch to do after 2.5 seconds? Because when it's time to adjust, Joe and Cody, this is now McDaniel's problem. And then this is an opportunity for Tua to say, hey, I don't see anything. I don't see my crosses here. Everything's jammed up in the middle. Now what do we do? And then we get knocked out of the playoffs. So we have to do something about that.
Well, I'm gonna answer that. I just want to answer some of the comments quick. Offense can't change. Tua can't throw an out route. Well, he can, and he can actually do it pretty well on the rollout. And I think that's part of what they're trying to do here is get him motion. I don't think they're going to do what they do with Lamar, Sharif, where you're getting to reset inside the pocket too much, because that's where you can get hurt. I think it's going to be climb if it's not there.
It's the different philosophies. Yes. I don't think they're asking us to do that. Would they do?
No, I think what you're going to get is a lot of motion.
The pocket.
Yeah, no, he's and they're not really afraid. And you don't want Tua to take the hits. He's going to be a little bit smaller. They're going to, if you notice, remember they would do we would do a lot of rollouts. They would bring in the fly blitz from the edge, and he would get kind of caught up. But sometimes last year you saw him actually break out past that. He would stop and do the rollout, and when he got outside, he was able to work the peripheral, the edges, the outs. And I think Jonnu's another guy that you said, well, he gets lost over the middle. Yeah, it's hard. It's easy to get lost when you got 2 5'8" receivers. But now you bring in OBJ's a little bit taller. You bring in Jonnu, who's a lot taller, and Jonnu did a lot of work on the edges. So I don't think Tua is a guy who's going to drive the ball outside like a Mahomes or an Allen. But I think there's plenty of potential for him to not be missed up between the hashes this year. I think there's a lot of things schematically, route combinations, with movement, and with the speed you got to work those edges. So this is the year for me because he should have progression reads. It's going to be totally different last year for many reasons, despite the diminishing of the offensive line. So I think, and another point that 72 brought up. He brought up, he said, we can't use the O-line as excuse because McDaniel and Greer said they love it. I think they're crazy. I thought they were crazy last year when they said they're worried about the depth of the offensive line. To me, it's like this is like it. If you're a real football lover of philosophy of concepts, what Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel is like, this is balls to the wall different. They're stripping down this offensive line of talent, and they're throwing pretty much nobody's on the offensive line, and they're adding prime rib, sirloin, all this to the skills, and they're saying these skills are going to drive this team and uplift this offensive line. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it is such a testing ground for tried and true principles and concepts and formulas. It's absolutely intriguing. It could end very badly, or it could end up insane where this is like revolutionary, but it's going to go one way or the other.
It's funny how you said that, Curtis, because that's Chris Forrester's philosophy in San Francisco. He's the O-line coach there, whereas we have the talent, right? We have the high-end talent, not much good depth, but I can make it work with this O-line. And why is Chris Forrester one of the best O-line coaches? Because he makes it work with whatever he has in the structure. So the thing is,
he's also got Trent Williams, though, man. That helps out a lot.
Exactly. But
that helps a lot.
And I'm telling you right now, another thing that we haven't even looked at as fans over this offseason, like if Teron goes down, I see Patrick Paul is just stepping right in and
no way, brother, man, no way. No, I mean he can. I'm gonna do some film. I've been trying to do it for a while, so I'm like promising. He is so raw. He's got some stuff. I just think that Lamb's going to be the guy to step in. I think he's the third guy to come in, and I want that.
I don't think he's going to pass.
I like this kid. I like this kid, Paul, for so many reasons. Like as a person, as a talent, as a lover of the offensive line. And, you look at Jackson thrust in, Eichenberg thrust in, Davis thrown to tackle when he should have been guard. We put these guys in positions to fail all the time. I want this guy to be marinated like a good steak so he comes out tasting beautiful next year. Because when you look at his stuff, he's insecure about certain things, certain play. When guys, I'll show you, he tilts his heel, like he'll drop and he twists that left leg in because he's afraid of the inside double move. And that is a bad tell. He needs to be rebuilt. I think the guy's got talent. I think he could do something, but I don't want to see him coming. I mean, if Teron stays all season, I think
he's going to be fine.
Maybe. I hope you're right.
Fine because
maybe I'm like the mother,
with a different coach. The contrast is this, Curtis and guys. Like, I don't think you do any better with Butch Barry. I think Austin Jackson actually degrades and gets worse with a different O-line coach. And so with a guy like Paul, and plus he's already went to one Armstead camp, the Armstead O-line camp in the offseason. So Paul and this is Austin Jackson's third season with the Armstead camp. And now we see his improvement, right? So Armstead is out here getting paid to teach top offensive linemen in the NFL, guys. And if you're under this guy's wing, I wouldn't even call it a wing, Curtis. I'd call it a Transformer's arm. If you're under this guy's care and he's teaching Paul, we literally got a good one. And plus, on top of Armstead teaching Paul the skills, at his camp, you got Butch Barry teaching him. So, like, I actually
I'm a little bit of a
I'm
doubting
sort
Thomas
of
in that
buying into
regard,
what
though.
Greer said a couple of press conferences ago, where we're the ones worried about the O line, because I think we have a couple of good ones.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to take. I think the whole. You look at Austin Jackson end of the year, and his pro set passer rate, blocker rating was terrible. He crumbled so many times. It was a little bit of a mirage. They had the easiest job in the NFL last year. 2.09 seconds, clean time to throw, 75% of the time. It was the easiest job in the NFL. And when it came down to when we needed him to step up, he crumbled. I think he can get better, and I think that another year will help him step up. But there was a big media push on, I'm sorry, Jackson. I'm sorry, Eichenberg. It was very disingenuous. It wasn't realistic. They struggled. When you could see when Hunt was next to Jackson, he played differently. And then when Hunt was pulled out, there was a lot of mom and dad protection with Teron and Connor and Hunt. And when they were pulled out, there was a diminishing. I can go through the tape. It's just my evaluation. I'm not saying,
I know. I've seen it, which also diminishes the 21 personnel, basically the I formation with the fullback. And when that diminishes, if like Curtis said, if Armstead goes down, or Armstead has the babysit, or let's say Austin Jackson goes down, or Connor goes down, now you have to babysit the Cottons of the world. You have to babysit the Lambs of the world. Now the 21 personnel isn't maximized as we want to use it and weaponize it, because there's more max protection. We don't want to max protect
the 21 personnel
to use.
Yeah, 21 personnel was brought to life with Connor and Hunt. I mean, I love to watch the offense. Those two guys, their chemistry was as good as Hill and Tua. Those two guys were, I think if Teron stayed healthy, if those two guys stayed healthy, there was a chance to definitely get at least one playoff win. Their chemistry and talent was something special. I think it's just a real shame that they couldn't stay together. And so they really drove so much. They were main drivers interior. So I don't know. I think Butch Barry's good. I think that some people hype him. I think, you look at a couple big games and you look at the blows up the stats. I don't think he's a bad coach, but he's not Dante Scarnecchia. They would talk like he's Dante Scarnecchia, and that's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting Mr. Sour Pits or something. I don't know.
I will say this, though. To compare him to someone we know, you remember Mark Dixon? I don't think Robert Hunt was as good as Mark Dixon. Mark Dixon opened holes for Ricky Williams, Ronnie Brown. Mark Dixon was a beast at right guard.
A big man.
I remember as much as that. Sorry, it's been a while.
Yeah, Mark Dixon.
I could go back and watch some film, man. I remember him, but I didn't study film like I do now. So I was just watching Ricky run and drinking beer.
He came from the Canadian League, but when I compare guys like to who we know, so we can recollect, but Mark Dixon played. Remember when we had Albert, and then we transitioned from Albert to Laramie, and then we had Mark Dixon and Laramie Tunsil. We had a couple. I think we had the kid from the Chicago Bears who I forgot the kid's name. Oh man. He was a good guard. He was a very good guard for his trailer.
Bushrod, you talking about?
Am I saying it? Bushrod. Ron Bushrod, yeah.
He was great in his prime. He came to us. He was like tired.
Ajayi was eating cornflakes through those holes.
Yeah, for 3 games.
Mark Dixon.
Boomer bust.
Mark Dixon.
I love the incognito. That was my guy.
Very underrated.
Robert Jones has showed me. He showed me if he gets a hand on you above 1 yard, he's gonna pummel you. And so Robert Jones has showed me something close to Mark Dixon. If he gets in the all-22, average at pass protection, If he gets a hand, guys, I'm one bear in. If he gets a hand on you, it's pancake.
I miss him already. You're making me feel bad, especially the touchdown. Homie, just made me answer Daniel's thing in no particular order. Jonnu Smith, OBJ, Devon Achane catching the football
Scary.
out of the 11 personnel grouping.
Got to be careful.
I showed the image before. That's scary. That is something that's going to be so threatening. I mean, you've got linebackers. There's no linebackers. The only guy I would feel like semi-confident would be like Wagner from San Fran, and maybe not. If he get that down and then right up the middle, I like that too, Daniel. I do. Easy, I'm not sure. He's not.
What I used to like with Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, keep going. Sorry. No, keep going.
No, I just wanted to mention what I used to like with Jimmy, right? Jimmy used to record the pancake blocks. And also he would give you a ball. What did he call it? A game ball after the game. And so pancake blocks is very, very genuine to offensive linemen, and it encourages them. And it gives them
Larry Allen, man.
And so we don't do that.
Larry Allen.
Listen, we don't
That's
do that
sexy,
anymore.
dude.
We don't record pancake blocks. Listen, man, we need to get back to recording how much pancake blocks guys have and highlight them and give incentives for them in the locker room so guys can feel good that because like you said, it was that play against Denver. Right. It was that play against Denver, Curtis, where it was actually Eichenberg and Connor Williams who peeled back, and all of a sudden Achane is running for 50. And so they're not necessarily pancakes, but they're seal blocks, and one of them was a pancake. Eichenberg took the guy out. But nobody records that. Nobody records those anymore. Jimmy used to record those and incentivize you to do it next week. And I think we need to just get into that more.
And we need to have guys that can too, because I'm kind of feeling like Austin Jackson and Ike, and just our whole roster is just. I'm not happy with the skill level of our roster. I'll just be frank. I mean, our skill level. I think we can do a lot.
Your name was Joe.
Where's your concerns, Joe? Where's your concerns? Which positions?
Every position. I mean, even Armstead, you got to worry about.
He's just talking about
him being on the field. I'm talking about only the O-line here. Yeah. I think that just our whole O-line are if you look at it, when McDaniel took over, we had the 45th ranked offensive line that Curtis used to talk about even then at that time. That's what he would call it. So he took over that. And even without Butch Berry and with an offensive line coach that wasn't pulling his own weight, the rest of the team, Frank Smith used to be offensive line coach, and he was having to spend a bunch of time in the offensive line room and getting tight end involved. Like, tight ends weren't even involved in the offensive line before.
And he mentioned that, yeah.
And so the whole growth of the offensive line started before Butch Berry got there. And I think when Butch Berry got there, he was a catalyst to what was already going on between a good scheme, just like you have to make up for your quarterback with your scheme. They're making up for the offensive line with their scheme from day one. You know what I mean? And between the quick release and everything else, they're making up for it. So,
I'm gonna put a graphic up because I want to show you something, and I think it's going to kind of. I think he's going to agree with what you're saying, but I just want to finish with Daniel. Daniel's a good guy. He puts up with me. Sometimes we disagree, so I want to finish before he gets mad at me. I don't see Easy as Debo because he's 2 inches taller than Debo, and that means a lot when he's not built like Debo. Debo's like 6 foot, and the thing that makes Debo is that he threatens the interior. He threatens the edges, and then he's in a pass game. I think Easy can do some of this stuff, but I don't think he's ever going to be like a Debo. I think he can do some things, and he's got to. This is his 3rd year. But I like Malik Washington. That's a guy I'm totally excited about. I'm really excited about that guy. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but he's going to be under Hill and Waddle and OBJ. And if he can get a little bit of action, I think I really like what this guy offers.
I want to talk a little bit about that. I don't know if the guys want to add something to this, because I want to talk about a little about the future. Because you said Taj and Malik, right? Okay, so let's just say Tua gets paid, right? 170 guaranteed. Tua makes 23 this year. He makes 18 next year. He makes 24 because guaranteed money, that's what it's all about. The 175 total, that's just a farce. So what we're really talking about is who's going to be the future of this team in 2026, right? And I'm just trying to take us down a lane here. So to me, what it seems Greer has done is said that Jalen Wright and Waddle is going to be the future of this team. And of course, Devin A-Chain. But if Tyreek is not here and you cannot afford Armstead anymore, he retires, and you cannot afford Ramsey anymore, then this team could go transition into what is Christian McCaffrey is doing right now, meaning there's really no star receivers, but there's a back that you could give it to on check down just about every play, and he's making. Like, we can transition to where A-Chain and Jalen Wright becomes like Marshall Faulk. But because if you don't have Tyreek and you only have Waddle, we're not bad at all. And I'm looking down the line like 2027. Like, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
I got one thing on that too, is that the makeup of our team, if you look at it, is a bunch of 1, maybe 2 year vets, mostly one, that are super seasoned, and they all like to take people under their wing. Then we have a bunch of rookies in the same position. So we have this, while you look at our age, it's towards the elder side, but we have a lot of old and we have a lot of rookies. And it seems like on the offensive and the defensive side, we've kind of positioned the players, whether it was done on purpose or whether it just was serendipity. We have young players and older players that can take them under their wing, everything from Armstead to, on the defense, all the positions seem to have an aspect of that. And I'm pretty sure that's quite normal, but it seems right now we have extremes on both ends, which kind of lines up to them being phased out and having a double coaching scenario going between now and then.
I think we see Mike's system that he wants to run in Miami in terms of having two top end speed wide receivers that can push the ball. I think we've seen that's what he wants to do, and I don't think he's really planning on changing it. Maybe next year we draft in the first round whatever stud wide receiver that we want to grab. That's gonna, as Waddle becomes the Tyreek Hill. I know they're not the same player. Tyreek's one of one, but Waddle is just as fast. Maybe not just as fast, but he can do the same things that Hill can do. And then you have a rookie wide receiver coming on. I don't think they have to change it, but one thing I thought of is imagine Tua goes out for a couple games, Mike White starts. What are they going to do offensively? How would Mike change? He would change it quite a bit towards let's go I form, let's run the ball. We got to help.
That wouldn't behoove us, though. That wouldn't behoove us.
Tua, I think they would have to try, at least try. But with Tua, you go, oh, this guy has such intangibles. He gets rid of it so quick. And we don't really think we have to carry him in that regard when it's really the opposite. Like, if we just took the mindset of, like, we're not going to make our quarterback carry us today. We're going to just run the ball. And whatever we have to do to make that our identity, that would help Tua so much. It would help Tua so much.
Oh, my God.
But the only thing is, though, that would demand –
you have Jalen.
No, I'm sorry. Keep going, Sharif.
No, I was going to say, you know what it would look like, Cody, if you have Jalen Wright 1,000 and A-Chain 1,000 in 2026? Like, and you don't even need wide receivers at this point. You just hand that bugger off. Bro.
But how do you change the O-line? They would have to start the money they were paying, the premium positions like wide receivers.
Yeah, I feel you.
They better start putting that money in the O-line or hit some draft picks.
And that is the transition, yeah.
Grow
and
talent.
What do you feel about that transition? Like, would we transition away from Tyreek transition away from Armstead and get
Hey, here's
better
DF. This is my
O-linemen to
man. I
beef
got to
up.
give him a special shout out. Hold on. I like DF. He's an old dog like me, man.
Hey, what's up, DF? Shout out to you, man.
Yeah, I'm DNF. DF and I are like old school. I think we don't. You need if
We
you're
got the
running
fullback for it. We got the fullback.
anytime you're talking A B gap running, man, you better have the horses on the offensive line, and we don't.
That's where I was getting at with the offensive line control.
You need a drive block. Hey, DF, tell us, man. DF's a big guy. Do I think he's like 3 sizes in me? You need, if you're running inside, man, you need to drive block. And the only thing the driving block these guys do is driving their beautiful cars to the field, except for my man Tehran. He can do everything. He's golden.
Ouch.
I think they were even sneaking a little a story out there.
Jones too. Jones can drive.
Love to come play. What is Martin doing with the Dallas Cowboys? Is Martin thinking about coming to us?
That'd be nice.
He's old and beat up, though.
We're not adding anybody, and it sucks.
We can't afford it. We're broke.
We can't afford anybody, especially not for contract rolls into next year.
We're going in like this, and it's health or nothing, really, with the O-line right now.
Look, I want to show something. I want to put this up just because I work.
It hurts,
hard.
Curtis. It hurts, man.
I'll get to you, DF. Hold on a second. Let me show you this. All right, so this is part of my podcast. I went like really, really deep. I think I like, it's like one of those Russian dolls. You open one up and there's another one inside. You open up, there's another one inside. This was Scott sent me on this. Like, I'm gonna actually never talk to Scott again because my brain hurts.
Good job, Scott.
So if you look at this is Tua and this is Brady, and is a 3-year layout. So if you start with Brady, and you see that when he won the Super Bowl, clean time to throw, 76%, 228, average depth of target, 9.
Bombs away.
Defensive pressures, low, 23. But notice the play action, 21.3. I got a study that I'm trying to break out on play actions, providing the main thing it does is provide pass protection. They don't really feel like the legit play action is really that critical, although I kind of disagree. But, anyway, I'll get to it. But watch as Brady's offensive line broke down and he retired. Notice things are happening. Clean time to throw rises as the time to throw drops. Average depth of target continues to drop. Defensive pressures drop a decent amount, but that goes hand in hand with the quickness of the throw and the shortness of the depth. But notice the play action. They were putting more guys in routes, but still look how low the defensive pressures are. Now look at the no play action. Average depth of target in Super Bowl year, 9.3, 7.9, 7.1. And look at the pressure rates and the time to throw. Everything is descending because they're not able to block with their 5 blockers. They're struggling more and more. And so they're trying to put more guys out, and Brady's trying to read as fast as he can, and he's shortening up the depth and getting it out quicker. But it just was a losing. They won 4 playoff games, Super Bowl, then 2 playoff games and lost, then 1 playoff. It was an ascending process because the offensive line continued to limit the menu. And they didn't use play action to bolster the protection because Brady's ability to read and get to the line of scrimmage and call audibles and hot routes. But we don't have that in play because we got the motion deal. The motion is scheme mismatch. It's not Tua getting to the line of scrimmage. It's not him calling hot routes, calling audibles, none of that stuff.
Check downs.
Right. But check downs it should be in there. Tua can fix that. There were check downs that were left on the table. And I think when you go to 11 personnel and you got Achane, that's going to be one of the things along with the motion. But then if you go back to Tua, look at Tua, 21 with the 45th best offensive line in football, 6.7 yards, 32.5 the pressure rating, but 42.8% play action passes. It's double what Brady had in his Super Bowl year. And when it was triple the year he left. And then you can go 22. Look at that. We got in 22, 10.3 yards. This was a very underrated season. He took the beatings, but look at our play actions.
He was clutch that year, Curtis. There was so many clutch rate. There were articles written about who was the most clutch quarterback of 2022. And Tua was mentioned, man. People have swept that under the rug.
Look at that 2-3-2. That was like 5th or 4th to 6th least time throw. It wasn't the first. It was the 5th to 6th. And 10.3.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
The ball, man.
Now they offset that with the 40. You know how high 43% play action is? That's vastly high. But that said a lot about the leverage created with Waddle and Hill and the league getting caught. Like, what the hell are they doing?
Exactly.
But then now watch 23.
Look at 23.
Not only what the hell they doing, they can't break down Wynn. They can't break down Connor.
Nope.
They can't break down Jackson.
And they were pretty healthy that season. They were pretty healthy that season. And that was the duo inside was huge.
And so Tua is able to put up those per average numbers, which are astronomical. 43% on play.
No, that's mind-blowing.
Realize when you realize on the all 22, what they're saying is you turn your back on a play action.
Yeah.
Whenever you turn your back, bro, you don't know if someone's gonna blast you when you turn around. So you're counting on everybody.
You don't want another concussion. You don't want another concussion. That directly correlates right to this play.
So when you play action, Tua is turning his back to the defense. That's 43% he put up.
That's right. But I want you to notice this. Look at Brady in 20 and Tua in 22. He shortened the time to throw by 0.04 seconds. The average depth of target was 1.3, but it's still pretty good for Brady, but he added 1.3 yards of depth. The pressure rating was sort of the same, but notice the different paths they took to create the opportunities. Brady put guys in routes, and we put guys in protection. And when you
Brady
put guys
into it too, Brady would hang on to it right there and take the sack.
Right, but remember, when you put guys in protection, there's less guys in routes and there's less opportunity. So what happened here was Brady's guys were able to protect with the 5 and 5.5 and 6 man. We weren't. And so there was a difference in the offensive line play. And then you could see 22 to 23. It really becomes like a mosquito in here. The damn thing would kill it. Die. Anyway, 23, look how much we drop. I mean, that's crazy. We dropped a 0.23 second. That is like forever. And then we dropped the depth of target to 7.6. Yeah. Defensive pressures did drop a little bit, but that's because you drop in 2.23. But the nice part is still a little high in the pass play action, but we did drop that. And if you look at that 29.4%, and you can create this extra leverage with Jonnu, Achane, and OBJ, you might be able to drop that play action and start going the Brady route with guys in routes, options, and progression reads, and you might find yourself the best of both worlds. That is the fantasy that I'm creating in my mind. And the leverage can create it, but you can see the offensive line was the Achilles heel. Now we're going into the season, and you see Deion Cooper over there. We're not calling audibles. If we are, that'd be great. And there's a lot to talk about that. I'd like to talk about that, but then I might be yammering a little bit too long. I think maybe next one we'll do that. But so we're in position for something, but when you strip out Connor and Hunt, you have to have a healthy Tehran. Tehran is allowed to block alone and send the help down the line of scrimmage, and it keeps you from max protecting and running play actions. Without Tehran, I think it's a house of cards. But with Tehran and with Jonnu and with Achane and the smart route combinations, a little adjustments coming into it, and maybe some get to the line of scrimmage early and some audibles to shake the hell out of people, maybe something special can happen. But Tehran's health is more critical this year than ever. The drop in the O-line talent without Tehran is staggering compared to previous years because you had Connor and Hunt to buoy everything, because interior pass protection is way more paramount than edge. But when you got a nice edge guy like that, then you can flow to help. And so to me, there's a lot of beauty here. There's a little bit of scariness, but it revolves around lowering his play action and Tehran being healthy.
And
Curtis,
Paul stepping up.
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
And Paul being able to take over when Armstead had.
I think Lamb's going to do it before Paul.
Yeah.
Right.
Lamb's
Yeah,
a
you're
pro,
absolutely right.
I would argue, Curtis, that Brewer is more important to this offensive line right now, the way it's made up. Because do we think Eichenberg's the right guard? He's the backup center, so that moves him to center. Driscoll, I don't know what happens if Brewer's out. It's really scary. If Tehran's out, you go, okay, we're going to nurse him back to health. We're not going to throw Paul in there, but we have Lamb. It's a little more taken care of. What happens if Brewer goes down? I'm really worried about that spot right now.
I would say last year I would agree with you with Connor, because Connor was a full complement center. He was a full toolkit center. Brewer's not. If you understand that Tehran can do it all, he can anchor your rollout point, so he's not getting bull rushed. And so then you can roll everybody and you can create slide blocks and moving blocks, and you can mask it with play action. But once you take Tehran out, you no longer have a anchor point. There's nobody else. Brewer's not an anchor point because he'll be destroyed on power. Eichenberg will be destroyed on power. Wynn destroyed on power. Jackson pretty much beaten by power. The only guy, a 5-tool guy, is Tehran. That's my opinion. My man, Tehran.
No, you know O-line a lot better. I just saw what happened when Connor went out, and you're kind of putting a little more light that it wasn't just him leaving. It was what other things he could do that Brewer can't do. But I just thought
Connor is a vastly superior center than Brewer. Yeah. Vastly.
Tua needs a good center. He needs a good inferior right now.
Listen, I think from watching the tape, you get a different perspective. I watched the blitz, right? There was a dog blitz that came behind the defensive tackle, meaning the linebacker is just coming behind the defensive tackle, trying to get right past Connor. And I kid you not, there was a holding play, right? It was not on Connor. There was a holding play on the defense. But that particular play, the blitz got by Connor. Connor only took his hand off the initial guy that he was already holding and held up the other blitzer who would have went free. I kid you not.
He was huge. He was so good for us, man. He was so good. I mean, the snapping was a major issue.
Very, very strong.
Very strong. And you understand, guys, you have to understand. It's like, I don't know how to, like, if you ever, when you know a guy is weak in one area, it really opens, like when you have a guy who's not weak anywhere, it creates a full menu. Brewer is very weak in certain areas.
I think he was better than Tim Ruddy. Connor Williams is way better than Tim Ruddy in terms of strength. What he's able to do.
Wish we would have gotten more years out of Connor, man. Like
100%.
Yeah. Mike saw something in him and said, "Yep, you're a center." And I'm going to tell you that. And you're going to have your best years, possibly. I just hope Mike sees something. Brewer, Mike sees something in these guys that,
I can tell you this.
Hope, right?
Clark, we gotta pray. He's stronger. He's stronger than Pouncey. Anyone wants to challenge me on that? Like
Connor
Pouncey wasn't that strong.
Who wasn't strong?
I think Connor is stronger than Pouncey.
Oh, yeah,
Pouncey was a big man, too. Not thick.
Like,
Connor wasn't as good a pass blocker as Pouncey. Pouncey was 6'6", 310, and fluid as nobody's business. He wasn't a drive blocker, but then he had Incognito next to him to do the muscle work. So you had, your like Luke Cage character at center, and then you had the thing on the left, or the Hulk on the left-hand side. And that's what Connor had with Hunt. And so Connor would make some mistakes in pass blocking. He was much better. He was good. And he couldn't be bull rushed, which is huge. If you have a center who can't get bull rushed, that keeps the collapsing.
Oh, that's huge.
And then and he could
going
run
back to the Dwight Stevenson time.
Oh, he was the best ever. I think he's the best center ever. I think he's the best center because of his size and what he was able to do. I cried actually the day he got injured. I hate those damn Jets for that. I really was so sad. I didn't know any other players really on the team because I was so young, except Dan and Dwight. And I was like, what? Because I'm a New Yorker, so I got to see the game firsthand. It was terrible.
I always thought Kevin Mawar was a stud. In my time, that was one of the best
he was
centers
really good. He was really, really good. He wasn't Dwight Stevenson, but he was really, really, really good. And he got Zach into the Hall of Fame. I think a lot of the chirping. So
he won us over there.
So I just wanted to finish one last.
Okay,
I just want to finish one last point. If you go look at no play action again and you focus on that, you can see offensive line. This is no play action means you're running limited blockers to protect, and the pressure was high at 23 sacks last year from no play action. And that really, anybody who tells you the offensive line was awesome, I mean, maybe they're right, but there's like very little evidence to say that. There's like mounds of evidence to say the contrary. So anyway, keep going, guys. I just had to finish it off. I spent a lot of time on it. And got a podcast tomorrow. I got to talk about it for half an hour. So you're up.
Last year, I felt like that I could almost not forgive Greer for not having a backup center. It seemed like, once Connor went down and we didn't really have a backup center that had ever really played a game in the NFL as center, that was crazy. Let us down. Yeah,
that was totally high. That somebody was doing
keep Olave.
Like,
we had Chris Olave training camp.
He's too weak. Too weak.
So my question to you guys is: do you think this year we're in the same position? Brewer's already going to be able to get just rushed on, right? And if he gets hurt, what do we have?
Eichenberg stick, dude. The only way you can get Eichenberg to stick is to have him be a backup center and make him run for a starting guard. He is all in about keeping certain guys up center.
Not to laugh at Connor though, guys, but if Connor is playing the same trick that X is playing, remember when X said, "Oh, I got a couple of teams looking over me." Meanwhile, nobody signed X. If Connor's pulling that same thing, guess what? We'll sign you for $3 million, but don't lie to us. Don't lie to us ever again. He's making it seem like him and Drew is making it seem like, oh, somebody's coming for me. Listen, we're gonna sit right here as Dolphins, and we're gonna see what's happening. And if nobody signs you, Connor, we got $3 million for you.
If he's healthy, he's gonna get gobbled up very, very quick.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, he's got. I think that I don't know what the truth is, but if he really didn't make a real recovery, and they could do so much stuff now, they could fly you over to Europe and get the special stuff. But if he's healthy, he will be a hot item. Eagles, Bears.
I don't think he's close.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
He got remember, he got the full ACL tear. That means his leg went like McCallum, like Napoleon to McCallum.
He went from
they were talking up that he would make the first of the season. Yeah, right.
I don't see it. I think he's not going to be ready. If he is, it's like unbelievable. But there's teams out there. There's totally teams out there.
They're selling a dream.
I think there's teams out there that definitely. If they say, okay, he'll be ready to come back and practice, say mid-season, they'll sign him 3-year deal, no problem.
We need to watch training camp. We need to watch who's getting dropped. We need to watch the cuts for D linemen, and we need to watch the cuts for O linemen. And it's got to be. We got to be That's sad to say when you go. Well, we got this playoff roster, but we need to watch the cuts for O line and D line. That's kind of scary, man. But I believe in us. I think we're going to make something happen. And
we have total opportunity.
We're going to be cutting in positions where people are going to be swiping up what we cut up too.
We can still pick up guys.
But how many teams are thick on offensive line that are cutting offensive?
Nobody gets rid of offensive line. Nobody gets rid of offensive line. Almost nobody.
I'm gonna leave it like this. The philosophy of Flores, I can guarantee you, was Fitzmagic. There's a 3 Mississippi, and if you don't see anyone, please just get what you can. And the reason why I said it, once again, 9 out of 10 wins in 2019. I'm sorry, in 2020. Fitzmagic, if he didn't see anything, he scrambled. If Tua didn't see anything, he scrambled. Remember the O-line guys. Nothing near what we have now. It was
Yep.
Ted Karras, it was Calhoun, and it was Jesse Davis. So I'm telling you, whatever McDaniel is telling Tua, please stay in the pocket. Please try to scan the field. I'm telling Tua as a fan, please do what made you a championship in Alabama. If you don't see anything, Tua, do exactly what you did, what caused us to win 9 out of 10 games. Get out of the pocket, scramble, slide, get what you can, because when what we're talking about for the last hour and a half is the 21 personnel being broken down because a guy like Armstead could get hurt, a guy
He's
like
got to uplift the O-line
Brewer
there.
could get hurt,
Mobility.
Austin Jackson. All of a sudden, you're max protecting from week 1. And we don't want to get into that area. But if we do have to, Tua, please, you're going to have to use your legs. And I'm cool with that. I am cool with that.
They're so big on third down, 3rd and 6. Those are giant plays where Mahomes is the best, man. 3rd and 7, he'll scramble out. He'll wait and then scramble, and it just kills you. It kills you. And Tua is mobile.
And Cody, there was a play last season. It was a play last season in the playoffs against Kansas City. It was a play in the playoffs against Kansas City last season. Tua was 230. He tried to scramble left side out of the pocket on a fake handoff, roll out to the left. He couldn't even escape the defensive tackle. You remember that play?
He's all padded up.
Outside.
He looked about as big and
he was fat.
People see that and go,
exactly.
The guy's out of shape. Not really out of shape, but the guy's not mobile. That's what they take away. A fan that maybe didn't watch.
But we never knew him to do that. We saw him against Buda Baker. We saw him against Jared Allen, the safety for the Jets. We saw him in the open field. So us seeing him try to escape the pocket
Tony Romo
in Kansas City,
360 rollouts.
He was too fat.
He acts like he can't see the D-line crashing, and then he rolls right out like Tony Romo, man.
Stop fat shaming. I'm going to get banned.
So Curtis, if you ask me, right, what is the X factor in this season?
I'll send you a video of each one.
Right? What is the X factor? If you ask me, Curtis, the X factor is those adjustments that defenses make by week 10, 11 and take away our jet motion and this motion and that motion. Our adjustment is Tua's going to have to see that they've taken it away, meaning they've dropped 7, and you're going to have to take those yards, Tua. That's my X factor.
I think that's a big piece of the puzzle. I think it's that and just his ability to get out to the edge.
Process it and know when to run.
And he's 211. Right now he's at 211. I think he's at the championship Tua weight.
Fighting weight.
That'll be interesting. All right, guys. I didn't realize how long we were going on. This was so much fun. Yammering away. Guys, I appreciate everything. Everyone in the comments for showing up and listening to us talk. Guys, you're the best. Guys, thanks for showing up. Joe, Sharif, Cody, and me. So, guys, we'll be back next Friday. I'm going to keep doing this from now on. I'm feeling healthy. Again, I appreciate everybody. There's a lot of hope here, but there's also we've got to just wait to see how it plays out. The ref gods and the injury gods are going to play a big piece of the puzzle. But anyway, guys, be well. You are the best. Curtis, out.
Fins up.
Fins up.
Thank you.